in this video, I kind of wanted to talk about whether we can trust people that we live around, or whether there are people that we live around who we consider trustworthy. And for people of the faith, this is actually a pretty relevant topic, because you might assume that just because a person believes what you believe, that that's your brother, or that's a person who would have your back or whatever. I don't really know if there are other people who are like me in the community, but I doubt it. And the reason why I say that is because I'm pretty well known, and if there were people like myself out here, I'd probably know about it. They probably would have made contact with me. So like I've come in contact with people who were not like they didn't believe in God, and these would be people that I liked, but it never really works out. Like, they keep a distance from you, like and you're still a person. You're gonna still like develop connections with people, because that's what people do. But you have to remember that, like, if you connect with someone and they're not backing you 100%, that's just gonna lead to you being hurt. Like, you're gonna be hurt. So like you can't really develop relationships with people, is what I'm saying. So the reason why I made this video too is because I know a lot of you guys are spiritual people or religious people, because a lot of times, when I talk about stuff that's from the Bible, you agree with me. So I'm gonna have to assume that you guys also believe in spiritual matters, and that could be why you've been targeted. And I've already made more than one video that kind of gets into this topic a little bit. So I wanted to make a channel that is dedicated to religious topics and stuff. And I'm gonna kind of just wait and see what kind of feedback I get from the gang stalking community about this idea before I decide on anything. But I did want to kind of touch on religious topics at least a little bit, considering the fact that, from what I know, most TIs are believers. And as far as church goes, that's a really, really interesting topic, because in this community, everybody damn near is either a gang stalker or collaborating with gang stalkers, and they're not really doing anything to help me out. So I mean, they claim to be Christian. I don't know. I mean, if they're Christian, then why are they gang stalking? Like, it doesn't make sense. So I don't know if they believe they are Christian, but in reality they are Christian. I don't know. Like, all I know is that they're not doing God's good work, and I don't think they really want to do it. But then again, like, maybe, I don't know, maybe they have their reasons. I just don't know. I mean, but the point being is that if you live in a community that has churches on every corner, and everybody's out to get you and everybody hates you, then I mean, I think that it's fair for you to sort of I don't know, to not really trust the fact that they are actually what they say they are. Like, you can definitely question it at that point. Like, you can second guess it. Because, like, why would people terrorize you? Why would you be persecuted by these people if they were people of God? Like, why would they do that? I mean, if nothing else, it's a fair question. So, like, if most of you guys are probably Christians or believers, and as am I. I always gravitated towards the Bible, and I've had spiritual experiences. I mean, there's Very, I mean, there's very concrete evidence to suggest that this is a spiritual thing. I mean, a lot of evidence, more evidence than, a lot of people would like to admit. But that's not really what we're talking about. It's like the point that I'm trying to make is that regardless of how many churches are in the area, like, you probably don't really have any Christians living around you, because you can't really determine whether a person's a Christian or not by whether they go to church. Like, they can go to church and not really care about anything they read in the Bible, just not really care. Which is why they're not going to help you, because they're going to put themselves before God. So let's talk about that. Okay, so God asks people to do stuff and make sacrifices. We know that. Everybody makes a sacrifice. We're making a sacrifice. If you think about it, we lose our lives to the operation because of God, really. God did this. And it's not like a judgment on God, but you notice how we're always sacrificing. Like, we lose our lives. Like, my life is gone. My life is gone. I don't care. Completely gone. I mean, think of the sacrifice. Like, no relationships, no girlfriends, no money. I mean, nothing. Like, we lose everything. We lose everything because of God. So, that's a big price. That's a big price. Like, I don't have a life. I eat crap food. I don't enjoy any part of life. It's all gone. So God asks for sacrifice. Like, we have to make sacrifices. See, the people who claim to be of God probably aren't. And the reason why you know that is because they're just not going to make any sacrifices. Like, they're not going to give up anything for the greater good. So, like, if God wanted them to do right, they're probably just not going to do it. So, they're not giving up anything. Like, they're not making the sacrifices. And our entire lives get sacrificed for the greater good. And they don't sacrifice anything because their heart isn't in it. Like, they're just not going to do it. Like, you notice how when you go to church, I mean, these people will give a little bit of money to the church, which I don't really know why they do that, because the church doesn't need the money. I mean, you would think they would give it to people who just really needed it. I mean, like, there'd be people, starving people on the street that would probably, that would make a big difference in their life. And instead, the church gets it, and the church doesn't need it. The church doesn't need it. Like, the church is all fancy, and they spend money on stupid stuff, and they don't need it. And that's who they give it to, and they're not really helping people with it, is the point. So why is everybody giving the church money and the church doesn't need it? You can give them enough to function. But the point that I'm making is that these people don't make sacrifices for God, and that probably stems from the fact that they don't believe in God. And they tell themselves they do, but in reality they don't, or at least he is secondary. He's not primary in their lives. So the reason why, most likely, even if these people pretend to believe in God, the reason why they're not running to the rescue is because God doesn't really matter that much to them, and his will doesn't matter to them. So they don't really care about God enough to bother, is the point. They don't. So he's not a priority in their lives, and they're not going to give up anything for the greater good. And you will. I mean, it comes with the territory, really. Like, your life, you lose it, and that's it. And everyone else is like, no, you're not giving up anything. And if they do, it'll be something meager, and something that they don't really, it's not really a big deal, like just enough to make them feel better or something. Like, people don't sacrifice. So, like, in a situation like that, it makes sense for you to be completely alone, because in reality you really are alone. And I feel like as a TI especially, we don't have faith-based institutions that we can trust. And the people that we live around who claim to be people of the faith probably aren't of the faith, and they're gang stalkers, most likely. because if you have churches in your community all over the place and you have all these gang stalkers, I think it's safe to assume that the gang stalkers are going to church. So the pastor or the people in the congregation could be gang stalkers, and it's a high probability that they are. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense for you to try to connect with people who hate you and they're not really of God. And like I said, even if by some miracle the church wasn't involved in this stalking, they are at least aware of it. And you would have to wonder why they wouldn't have come to your rescue. I mean, they believe in God. Let's assume they believe in God. Well, if they believe in God, you would think that they would be like, okay, let's do something for God. Okay, like, because God, God would want that. Like, God would want you to do the right thing, want you to help people out, or be decent to your fellow man or something. I don't know. Like, God would probably want you to do something, make a little bit of a sacrifice, but no one did that. And I think this is relevant because I hear you guys. You guys are, you're definitely trying to, promote the spirituality of the Bible, or you seem like you're at least kind of on that page. So I wanted to bring this to your attention because it kind of goes back to what I said about promoting a belief system. So these people who go to church, if they pretend to be people of God and they're not, we have to assume that they're pretending for a reason. Okay, you guys follow what I'm saying? They're going to church for a reason, and if they're not people of God, then they have some sort of other reason why they're in church. So we don't know what the reason is. But if they feel like you can help their agenda, then I don't know. Something really bad could come from that is what I'm saying. And we just don't have a lot of information to sort of know what they're up to. But we know that they go to church and they probably aren't people of God, but they're in church. And I think that if they're in church, we can assume that they have a reason, probably a selfish reason, but they have some sort of agenda or something. So I prefer to err on the side of caution when it comes to stuff like that. That's why, for me especially, I'm very careful. Like, if they have an agenda and they're trying to do something that's terrible in the name of God, or use God for some sort of evil plan or something, I don't want to be a part of it. And that's kind of why I recommend we are very careful, because I don't know why there are all these churches in this area when these people are the way they are. Why is there so many churches out here? Like, we couldn't possibly have the same belief system considering the amount of oppression these people bring to the table. Like, I don't know how we could have the same belief system. So I think that we should be really careful when it comes to that. And that's all I'm saying. So in this too, I'm toying with the idea of coming up with sort of like a religious channel or something. And I don't want to be a church leader or anything like that, or a bishop, because I don't want the responsibility that comes with it. But I do want TIs to have some sort of religious institution that they can trust, because I feel like the only religious institutions that we can trust are the ones that we create ourselves as TIs, because we can't trust the world. Like, we can't trust anyone else. We can't trust the church. So if we were to participate in anything religious, it should come from a TI, in my opinion, because no one else can be trusted. Not the church, not the Rome, or the Pope, or anybody. We can't trust anybody. The only people we can trust are each other.